thank you so much. That was super interesting. I think if we try to think a few years from now, 5, 6, 7 years, nobody really knows how our life will look like. Pretty scary, I must say. But planning for the future, but I lost my presentation. Planning for the future, but also thinking about really what can you do now. So here is a poll. Please take out your phones and let's talk about what you are already doing now. And Laura talked about how hard it is to actually make your employees change the way that they work. It's not that easy. So where are you currently using AI in your payment processing? Okay, in the payment processing, not in general, like to write emails using ChatGPT, okay? Not using AI for your fraud management, for your payment routing. So when you make routing decisions, and I'll talk about it a bit more in a second. Okay? Take out your phone. It's the first day. You should still be awake. Come on. Okay, anyone else? Okay, fraud management is winning. It's good, at least. Okay, yeah, I think we can call it. So, can we go back to the results? No? Yes? Good. Okay, so 53% are already using fraud management, using AI for fraud management decisions. 39% are not using it all, and only 7% are using it for routing. So let's talk about it for a second. Can you go back to the presentation? Yes? Good. So fraud management, we talked about it a lot in the panel. The fraudsters are already using AI. This basically means that if you are not using AI, they will be ahead of you. If you're using rules, it's really, really easy for them to ask, what do I need to do to bypass the rules and buy at Douglas, for example? And that's it. And they will find a way through the rules. So using AI to really understand who is the person behind the interaction. It can be registration, login, checkout, refund request, return, anything like that. You need to know who is behind the interaction. Is that a legit person or not? It can be a bot. It's fine. Maybe it's a good bot. Maybe they're buying something for me. You don't want to stop them. So knowing that is really, really critical, and it's important. And one more thing that we didn't really get a lot in this discussion in the panel is the technology is out there. Everybody can use it, and you also have your data. But can you really fight it alone? Is your data enough? What happens if you can use network? If you would be able to use more data? Also, all of your peers sitting out here, merchant, also use their data to understand who is legitimate and who is not legitimate. And what if you could use experts that know how to leverage this AI to make sure to use it properly, because it's not that trivial. But today I want to talk about payment routing and how, because this is a newer space, I think, for AI. What are all these decisions that you have to make, you as payment people, when there is a transaction coming and you want this transaction to be legitimate? So you already understand this customer is a good customer. You want them to have the best customer experience. You want to make sure you avoid 3DS. You don't want to give them too hard time. You don't want to ask them to type the card if it's not needed, and you just want them to go through. And what can you do, and how can you start to think about using AI for this? So what's the opportunities here? We will talk about 4 different things. And if you think about it, 4 answers you have to answer every time you process a transaction. Routing. You have more than one processor. I'm sure you do, because we are in Europe. I was in the US last week. They are still very much behind. Half of them still think one processor is a good idea. So thanks God we are now here. You have more than one processor. Which one you use for your transaction? This is important. Network rails. You have the local rails, whether it's card bancaire or something else. In the US, you have the debit rails. The US like to call it least cost routing because it's cheaper. Is it really better? Is the auth rate will be better? It's an important decision to make. Exemptions. 4 years into PSD2, and still it's very hard to optimize conversion under the PSD2 regulation. Do you ask for exemption? Do you send the transaction to 3DS? Do you ask for exemption and then you send it to 3DS only if you got a soft decline? This is important. And then network token. Network token are important. We heard MasterCard earlier today talking about 6% possible increase in auth rate. Is it always the best choice to use a network token? Are all the issuers support network token? Maybe it's cheaper, but maybe the auth rate is not always, is it even always available? You use debit rails, network token a lot of times is not available for you. So if you think about it, 4 different decisions you have to make for every transactions. And even if you don't think that you're making them today, you are. Maybe your PSP is doing it for you. Someone is making this decision. Otherwise, the transaction would not go through. So let's start with processor routing. You have more than one processor, and if you just shift it by region or something like this, well, there is a bigger opportunity for you to actually leverage the multiple processors. How do you decide where to send your transaction? There is a cost aspect to it. So some merchant tells me, it's easy. I send it to the cheapest one, and then if it doesn't work, I send it to the next one. Is that a good strategy? What about all the other things you need to do, and how many times are you going to retry this poor transaction until you get it right? How much money will it cost you, and how much will these issuers and acquirers really like you that you are retrying so many times? Authorization rate, of course, will vary, especially in Europe under PSD2. The auth rate of the exemption can be 6–7% difference between the processors out there. Failover, are you trying again? Are you not trying again? What was the decline code? If you try again, how you try again? What are these processors offering you? Can they support local rails? Can they support the exemption on the 3DS? Can they even support exemptions for you? You need to understand that to actually make a decision. A lot of time when I talk about using AI or automation for routing, I get, no, we have a business commitment, we have strategy, tomorrow I'm meeting my processor for lunch, like what will I tell them? The transaction just went somewhere else because of my AI, I don't know what happened. It's important to be able to take your strategies, feed it into the model. We talked before a lot about the data, about how you feed your model. You need to know your strategies. You need to feed your model. If you want to make sure 20% of your business minimum is going to every processor, feed it to the model. Within this business requirement or commitment, you can then have the model make the best decisions for you. Domestic or international rails. For card bancaire, customers need to decide how they want to process the transaction. They need to agree. A lot of times, it's not like that. So for example, in the US, you can take today every transaction, send it to the debit rails. It's cheaper. Is it always the best option? No. Does it support network token? Normally, no. Does it support 3DS? Sometimes, no. So it's not that easy to make this decision anymore. Do you have a local entity? What will be the cost? Do you need 3DS? What will be the auth rate? Do you know the BIN? Do you understand this issuer? You have to understand all these things to be able to say, OK, where do I send this transaction now? Domestic or international? PSD2. You have to determine if you want to send the transaction to exemption. sending all of your transactions to exemption is not a great idea. Maybe it's a risky transaction. Maybe this issuer doesn't really like exemptions. Why are you trying to do something which is not likely to work? Maybe this is a customer that actually loves 3DS. They feel it's so secure, they want to see the 3DS window. Not very likely, but there are some out there that like it. Is the exemptions available? Is the exemptions available with all of your processors? Are you using the one that will actually agree for your exemption? Are they telling you you can do exemption up to 500 euro, but actually everything above 250 is getting declined? Anybody that ever happened to them? Check your data. So making 3DS decisions and exemptions decisions, also getting very complicated to do it with rules. And then the last one, network token. Network token is great. It's becoming more popular. Still, a lot of merchants are not leveraging it. Not all the issuers support it properly. Auth rate is not always better. It is a lot of times better. Many times it will be cheaper for you to use network token. But again, that really depends. Maybe not all of your payment processors support network token. You should push them to do it. But if you're still using them, you need to not try to do something which is not going to work. So that is your fourth decision on a poor one transaction on your website, OK? So think about it. Why use AI instead of rules? I don't even think you can use rules for any of these decisions. So now we just put 4 of them together. Do you want to try to retry all the combination? Meet your processor in the hallway and ask them if you can retry every transaction 15 times and see their reaction. They're not going to like it. Issuer behavior changes all the time. One of the things we do with AI, I talked about it before, about monitoring, is we look at the issuer behavior. And what you can see here, it's a bit small, but you can see the percentage of 3DS in blue, and the exemption auth rate, what color is it? Black. I have different colors on my screen. So if you look here, you can see one issuer, the percentage of 3DS was very low because the exemption rate was very high. So the exemption auth rate was great. One day, the exemption auth rate just dropped for no good reason. Immediately, obviously, then, the 3DS percentage had to go up. But it will only go up if you make sure these transactions are now being sent to 3DS. If you don't, then your overall conversion will just go down because of this sudden change in behavior. And on the right side, you can see the opposite example of an issuer that actually didn't really like exemption. One day, they woke up in the morning, and suddenly they started to like exemptions. Every week, if you challenge me, every day, I can find you from the data examples of issuers that are changing their behavior. And this is 4+ years into PSD2. OK? And it's not stable, because issuers, they have their own behavior and their own preferences. Trying to do it with rules basically means you have people sitting there, your team, analyzing the data, bean, by amount, by processor, and trying to make decisions and change the rules all the time. It's very, very hard and not efficient. Now combine all these 4 decisions together. OK? So if you just think, as an example, no 3DS, you use the debit rails with a card number, with processor B, the model will tell you the success probability is 80.5. But the cost will be 75 cents. You do something else, just another combination, there are a lot. The success rate goes up to 82%, but the cost also goes up. This comes back to feeding your model. What is more important for you? Are you willing to pay more to get a better conversion? That depends on your business, on your markup. That depends on how likely are your consumers to actually try again if they get upset and the transaction doesn't go through. We are seeing some websites where 90% of the consumers will try again because they already invested a long time. I have 3 teenagers. They sit there for 2 hours. They choose everything. Then I tell them it's too much, so they have to choose half of it to take off the cart. And then I come to pay. If it's not working, I will try at least one time again. But sometimes people get upset. It's not working. They walk away. Can you take the risk that they will walk away if it's not working just because you wanted to process it cheaper? Okay, so if you think about it, all of these decisions together, the only way to really do it properly is via automation. I managed payment for over 10 years. I had rules. I had a team that was sitting there changing the rules, analyzing, doing A/B tests. Every week we did all of this work. It's hard. And then comes also the network. As a merchant, you only have your own data. But what if you could use other data of other merchants? And you could use a solution that will actually help you understand what's best to do from looking at a broader set of data points. So we talked about why the rules are not working, because you will need to constantly evaluate them. You will need to sit there and do it, which means you need to have a very big team that costs you a lot of money to do it. And the last one is that very quickly it becomes outdated. But most important, the ability to set your business strategy within the AI is critical. Okay, so you can't just feed all that into the model and hope for the best, and tomorrow you're not meeting your commitment with the processor, and you just have to pay a lot of money because you didn't process all of the transaction you planned. So this is really, really important. Key takeaways for all of you. So there is a lot of discussions about AI. We heard it all morning. We'll keep hearing it. We are all listening to all these podcasts, trying to understand what's our role in this changing, really, really, really fast changing world of AI. But if you just go back to your day job and you think about what can I do today already, which is available for me, this is available for you already now. Evaluate, think about can you build it internally? Do you have the resources? Are you going to recruit the right teams to build it internally? Or do you want to buy it? Or do you want to focus on what you are doing and buy it from a vendor that will do it for you, that maybe also has more data than you and can help you do it? This is really, really important. So using an AI in fraud management is table stake, although only 50% of you said you're already doing it. So definitely worth for you to look even into it for the fraud. Using an AI to drive better payment outcomes, better conversion, better cost, better customer experience for your consumers. Payment becomes a very important part of the customer experience. And is the last one, identify areas where you currently use static rules and explore how can you move to AI. And it's a complicated move. I met a merchant last week that told me we spend all this time to build this logic of routing using AI, and it's not working. Okay, so it's not that easy to make it work, but it's worth it. It will increase your auth rate, it will minimize your manual cost, and it will also reduce your payment cost. So this is for you the reasons why to start looking at it. And that's it. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm Galit. I'm here around, so you can feel free to come find me if you like to talk more about this.